continent, Nigeria. Now, this forum seeks to create a platform for the 38-member country in Africa to create a platform that will increase the level of right now we're having the vice president coming in, and it will. Yes, we're having the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, walking in company of the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, and immediately comes in. We expected to start the conference. It's a 3-day event. And that was
Your Excellency,
that was the national anthem. Just have the Vice President seated in company of the Executive Chairman of the FIRS Nigeria and Chairman of the ATAF Council, Mr. Babatunde Fowler,
and Chairman of the National Assembly, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, represented.
The sessions, we will be having 5 sessions.
Distinguished Senator John Owen Enam. Your Excellency, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, represented here by the Chairman.
Okay. We have also, of course, the Minister Tunde Fowler. It was the Chairman of the FIRS Nigeria and the Chairman of the ATAF Council. That's the African Tax Administration Forum.
The Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun.
All right, the event will start with the goodwill messages from the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, and also the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, will be declaring the 3-day event open. Now, this event is holding just to seek a platform and create a very conducive platform for African countries to unite and have a unified tax system, which is peculiar to different countries in Africa. And also in the panel, we have sessions, 5 sessions, which will be x-raying different tax systems in all African countries.
Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with pleasure that I welcome all of you to the biggest conference on tax on the continent. Welcome to the 3rd International Conference on Tax in Africa. And this conference is a flagship conference of the African Tax Administration Forum. So to the first my brother,
yes,
Marcel, who will be speaking to you in French.
Yes.
I invite myself to the microphone.
Yes, yes.
Son Excellence, le vice-président de la République fédérale du Nigeria, le professeur Yemi Osibanjo, le président du Sénat de la République fédérale, le docteur Bukola Saraki, son représentant ici, l'honorable chef de la Chambre des députés, l'honorable Yakubu Dokara, Monseigneur, l'honorable Justice Walter Onegene, le président de la Cour d'appel, l'honorable Justice Zainab Bolchoa, tous les ministres qui sont représentés ici, les délégués des différents pays membres de l'ATAF, tous nos partenaires, agences, ministères et départements ici représentés, mesdames et messieurs de la presse, mesdames, mesdemoiselles et messieurs, je vous souhaite la bienvenue à cette 3e conférence internationale de l'ATAF sur la fiscalité en Afrique. Ça me fait un grand plaisir de me tenir devant vous et je réponds au nom de Marcel Tolmoni. Je serai le co-modérateur avec Monsieur Ebere, mon ami, qui est aussi d'ailleurs mon frère. Nous sommes ici pour aborder le thème de cette conférence qui dit « Bâtir des régimes de fiscalité intérieure solides en Afrique, renforcer la TVA, l'IRP et l'IRS ». Ce thème est un thème qui est le meilleur choisi parmi tant d'autres pour pouvoir traiter les questions qui ont trait à la fiscalité ici en Afrique avec l'aide de nos partenaires venant de partout du monde entier. Et nous espérons qu'à la fin de ces 3 jours que vous allez passer ici dans la plus belle ville de ce pays, qui est noble d'ailleurs, la République fédérale du Nigeria, vous pourriez pourtant bénéficier des thèmes qui seront abordés ici à travers les différentes discussions, les différentes prononciations ou les discours qui seront émanés de ce podium. Une fois de plus, je vous souhaite la bienvenue à cette 3e conférence de l'ATAF. Merci.
Merci to you too, my brother. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, let me welcome Mr. Logan Worth, Executive Secretary, African Tax Administration Forum, for his remarks. Mr. Logan Worth, please.
I think I must stand here. I hope there are not too many of us short people, otherwise they won't see you. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, the representative of the President of the Senate, representative of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, my Lord the Chief Justice, honorable senators and members of the House of Representatives, honorable ministers and heads of government agencies, the executive chairman of FIRS and the chairman of ATAF, members of the ATAF Council, heads of revenue authorities in our delegations, our delegates from our development partners and our distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to be here and to invite so many and welcome so many distinguished guests to this occasion, and in particular to experience such wonderful Nigerian hospitality. I'm extremely delighted to welcome all of you to this, the third International Conference on Tax in Africa. This being our flagship conference in a very special way, kindly allow me to express my sincere gratitude to Your Excellency, the Vice President, for gracing this occasion with your presence. For us, it is a clear affirmation of your conviction that effective domestic resource mobilization is the most sustainable avenue to ensure consistent development on the continent. A real independence in determining our priority and our national programs. Allow me also to thank all the honorable and distinguished guests and public officials who are present here today. This, coupled with the heads of tax administrations and our partners and global tax experts, is clearly a statement that the effectiveness of taxation is a priority for all of us. Today we are joined by more than 27 African countries, by other countries, China, Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, Denmark, Finland, the European Union, and although they were recognized already, I would like to particularly say how pleased I am to see the former chairman, the two former chairmen of the Federal Revenue Service of Nigeria, Mr. Al-Haj Mashi and Mrs. Ifweko Omogi Okahuru, who both played very, very central roles in the development of ATAF as a strong African organization. I believe over the next 3 days, together, we would discuss to further efforts to build stronger domestic tax regimes on this continent. We are particularly looking at company, corporate income tax, personal income tax, and value-added tax. And this contributes to the broader theme of domestic resource mobilization. And I do not need to say too much about the need for domestic resource mobilization in a world where the Sustainable Development Goals and the Africa 2063 agenda is going to need Africa to fund a lot of infrastructure and social development. The Sustainable Development Goals on its own will cost the world $120 billion US. This in a world where official development assistance is declining. The challenge is on us to close the financing gap. And building strong tax regimes is central to closing the financing gap. There are challenges in raising tax revenue. There are challenges in forging ahead with domestic resource mobilization. And some of those challenges include illicit financial flows and monitoring the behavior of successful and not so successful multinational corporations and their tax behavior. They play an important role in our economies, and therefore we need to look at whether we are harvesting the appropriate taxes from these operations. We also need to take care of wasteful tax incentives. We need to invest in strong tax administration systems and capabilities, and in particular, look at our national and international treaties that is a cause of great revenue loss for many African countries. ATAF as an organization has built over the past 8 years of its existence, Your Excellency, a number of programs. And in recent years, our technical assistance programs that assist our member countries on the continent, particularly in dealing with transfer pricing, international taxation and aggressive tax structures, has in the past 2 years alone clawed back more than $160 million US in 4 African countries, We do that when we fix the tax system through good rules, good legislation, and investing in good administration. And for that, technology and investment in technology is particularly important. Over the next 2 or 3 days, we will look at that. We will share experiences of how to avoid VAT fraud, how to optimize and broaden the personal income tax net, and how to make the corporate tax experience a better one, both for the taxpayer and for the tax collector. Your Excellency, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, overall, ATAF is continuously and consistently working on both technical and policy issues to improve effectiveness in domestic resource mobilization. In that regard, we call on all stakeholders to honor their commitments in pursuit of their responsibilities in the area of taxation and say that together we can mobilize sustainable revenue streams to finance Africa's own development agenda. I wish over the next 3 days that we have strong deliberations so that each country can go back and plan and implement, and in that way we raise our ability to fund our own development agenda. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
The microphones dared to block him. But because his intellect is gigantic, he stood out and shone like a million stars. Let's put our hands together for this amazing man. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me welcome some of the commissioners that are here. Mrs. Alfreda Stewart Tamba, Commissioner General of Liberia. She's here with us, so welcome you. Mr. Aldese Niyonzima, Commissioner General from Burundi. Mr. Hapias Kovinva, Commissioner General from Zimbabwe. Mr. Yankuba Dabo, Commissioner General from Gambia. Mr. Adama Bandolo, Commissioner General from Burkina Faso. We'll continue, we'll just take them one after the other. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when Marcel comes back, he'll do all of this in French. But let me welcome here a man that is comfortably called Mr. Tax. From his service in Lagos State, nobody has matched his record. At the federal level, he has remained progressive, aiming to increase our tax revenue by 35%. He has over, in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Finance, over 7,500 tax people, wonderful people, going around the country to spread the gospel according to task. He's also the chairman of ATAF. So please welcome the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. He will stand beyond the microphones, I can assure you. Please welcome Mr. Obatode Fowler.
Thank you. His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, GCON, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Bukola Saraki, ably represented by the Senator John Eno, the Chairman of the Finance Committee, the Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara, also ably represented by the Chairman, Committee on Finance, Honorable Babangida, other distinguished senators here present, other honorable members here present, the Chief Judge of the Federation, the Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, and of course, our own dear Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and other ministers here present. Heads of ministries, departments, and agencies, the Executive Secretary of the African Tax Administration Forum, Mr. Logan Watts, my colleagues, other Commissioner Generals here present, eminent guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and of course, my own constituency, the Joint Tax Board, other state chairmen here present. It is indeed an honor to have you here today, and I would like to also show my appreciation for allowing Nigeria to host you at this very important event. Nigeria as a country has taken a position that we can no longer rely on the sale of oil or other natural resources to fund our current or future budgets, and that has put on us the responsibility to ensure that all good-meaning Nigerians and corporate organizations pay what is due to the Federation, to ensure that we can increase our standard of living and also bring about a Nigeria of our dreams. Yesterday we had a public hearing to review 3 bills. 2 of those bills had to do with tax administration. One was on corporate income tax, the other was on waivers and transparency. And that was arranged by the Senate and was declared open by the Senate President. I'd just like to put on record our appreciation that the council members and commissioner generals were also in that sitting to see firsthand the new direction that Nigeria has taken in terms of vision to ensure that we generate adequate revenue in a transparent, efficient, and effective manner for the benefit of all Nigerians. The Executive Secretary has given a brief rundown on the objectives of ATAF. And as we meet here today, we're going to exchange ideas. We're going to find ways of exchanging information to ensure that we maximize the full potential of our revenue. Nigeria as a country still has one of the lowest percentages in terms of tax to GDP. Now, that is not far-fetched as to why. Part of the issue is that there have not been consequences for tax offenders, which is about to change. With the launch of VADES, all Nigerians, both individual and corporate organizations, have been given the opportunity to come forth and, as they say, sin no more, but to come forth, declare, and contribute to the Commonwealth to improve the standard of living of all of us. In terms of the issues that we will discuss at this conference, and also to develop partnerships between our African countries and also our development partners, we're going to, first of all, provide a common platform. Some people say a lot of the time that you cannot do things if there are no legal agreements, but among ourselves, as people with the same vision in Africa, we're going to fight harmful tax practices. We're going to ensure that we share ideas in terms of base erosion and profit shifting. That is what the Executive Secretary had highlighted before. In 4 African countries, they're able to conduct audits and also ensure that over $160 million were paid to the respective countries. We also are going to provide research information to all member countries that may and most likely will help them in their own tax administration. And from the point of view of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, we have changed our approach. We have employed more technology. We have recently launched 6 e-solutions, which will allow all Nigerians to pay their taxes anywhere in the world 24/7 in the comfort of their home or their houses just through technology. These are some of the ideas we're also going to share with our colleagues, both at the states and the local government level, and also share with our other African partners, our brothers and sisters, to ensure that we as a body can provide effective, efficient, and tax administration. With these few words, I just once again like to welcome you to Nigeria and also let you know that Nigeria as a country is not shy in taking the lead to ensure that we and the rest of us in Africa perform our duties and in line with the AU mandate, ensure that we provide the required resources to fund our respective nations. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président de l'ATAF. Nous voulons continuer avec les reconnaissances parmi nous. Nous voulons reconnaître parmi nous ici la personnalité de M. Tunde Fowler, qui vient de donner son discours. Nous voulons aussi reconnaître la présence de M. Logan Watts, le premier intervenant, qui est le secrétaire exécutif de l'ATAF. Nous voulons aussi reconnaître, d'ailleurs, il vient de l'Afrique du Sud, sans oublier cela. Nous voulons aussi reconnaître la présence du commissaire général, Madame Alfreda Stewart Tamba, du Libéria. Nous reconnaissons aussi la présence de Monsieur Odas Nyozima, commissaire général de Burundi. Nous voulons aussi reconnaître ici la présence de Monsieur Apias Kunzvinzwa, celui qui est commissaire général du Zimbabwe, et aussi Monsieur Yakumba Darbo, commissaire général de la Gambie, Monsieur Adama Badolo, directeur général des impôts du Burkina Faso, Monsieur Kenelwi Robert Maurice, commissaire général du Botswana, Madame Idia Penam, commissaire général de Lesotho, et ensuite Madame Hadja Kala Kamara, commissaire général de la Sierra Leone. Nous allons continuer avec la liste par la suite, mais tout de suite nous voulons souhaiter la bienvenue à son honorable Madame Kemi Adeosun, ministre des Finances de la République fédérale du Nigeria, pour son discours liminaire.
Thank you very much. She's the only one to be invited in 2 languages. We need to appreciate our Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the representative of the Senate President, Senator Bukola Saraki, and the representative of the Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Yakub Dogara, the Chief Justice of the Federation, Honorable Justice Walter Onoge, and the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bukar Chawa, the Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, Ishak Bello, all ministers of the Federal Republic here present, and ministers from other African countries, heads of ministries, departments and agencies, commissioners general, heads of delegations from the African Forum of ATAF, the Executive Secretary of the African Tax Administration Forum, Mr. Logan Watt, the Chairman of the Federal Internal Revenue Service of Nigeria, Mr. Babatunde Fowler, panelists, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I feel extremely honored to be here today to give a welcome address at the 3rd ATAF International Conference on Tax in Africa with the theme, Building Strong Domestic Tax Regimes in Africa, Strengthening VAT, PIT and CIT. And I'm particularly delighted at the presence of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, which shows the seriousness with which this administration takes the issue of taxation. I'd like to congratulate the ATAF Council and the Secretariat in designing the concept of the conference. And I must also thank the Chairman of FIRS for superb coordination. This conference could not have come at a better time, not only for Nigeria, but for Africa. As we've heard many times, there is a link between tax and development. And statistically, there is proof that there is no poor country that has a good tax compliance rate, and there is no rich country that has a low one. There is a definite link between tax and prosperity. And looking back, particularly to Africa, into our history, we have always had tax systems of one sort or another. Basic, primal in some cases, but we've always had effective systems of collective mobilization of revenue. The problem with oil and other commodities is it effectively destroyed some of those systems, and we need to rebuild them in order to develop a sustainable and predictable revenue flow to drive our development. It's clear we can do it. it is clear with the organisation of this conference that there is, and the attendance, that there is a collective awakening in Africa that it's time to do things for ourselves. We know that development finance bills, budgets are constrained. We also know there's a general feeling in the international community of putting their own countries first. Now it's time to put Africa first. We have enough resources to drive our development sustainably. Of course, the other side to taxation is responsibility and transparency in the use of public funds. And this administration in particular, and indeed many administrations across Africa, are working very hard to improve transparency, to fight corruption, and to provide value for money for the tax revenues collected. And that gives confidence to the taxpayer to do the right thing. But of course, it's not simply a moral issue. There's also willful tax evasion. And that's something we're working very hard to correct, as the chairman had said, with our VADES program. But I also think it's significant that we have the Chief Justice of the Chief Justice of the Federation here today, because of course we need that legislative support. There must be penalties, there must be consequences for willful and illegal tax evasion. And I know that this administration, working very closely with the legislature, will work hard to do so. We in Nigeria are committed to improving our tax compliance rate. At 6%, we have one of the lowest tax to GDP ratios in the world, and we are determined to take that on as a project and correct it very, very quickly. And in so doing, we believe that we will unlock growth for Nigeria. I want to, as I close, congratulate the organisers of this conference. I look forward to very robust and rigorous debates at a very granular level on the issues, and to be able to develop very implementable plans that we can take away and work with. I would like to close by again congratulating the organisers of this event. I look forward to a very rigorous 3 days and to go away with actionable points. Thank you very much, ATAF, for organising this. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
She is absolutely committed to tax. Only a few weeks ago, she launched a special program that will increase taxation and income for the federal government. Can we appreciate her one more time, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. Somebody said the other day that there are only 3 ways to meet the unpaid bills of any nation. Number 1 is taxation. Number 2 is repudiation. And number 3 is inflation. But it's also made clear that taxation is not charity, neither is it voluntary. It is what you do as a committed citizen. And one man who understands this very clearly is our Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's therefore my honor and pleasure to welcome here our special guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, GCON.
Thank you very much. Please sit. The Senate President, ably represented by Senator John Owen Eno, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, the Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, ably represented by the Honorable Babangida Ibrahim, Chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, the Honorable the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Walter Onogin, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and other members of the Federal Executive Council here present, the Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service and Chairman, African Tax Administration Forum, Mr. Tunde Fowler, the Executive Secretary of the African Tax Administration Forum, Mr. Logan Watt, heads of ministries, departments, and agencies here present, Commissioners General and heads of delegations from African Tax Administration Forum, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The African Tax Administrators Forum deserve our commendation for this timely conference and its important theme, building strong domestic tax regimes in Africa, strengthening VAT, personal income tax, and companies' income tax. The forum has committed to this cause since August 2008, after the international conference in 2008 on a somewhat similar theme, taxation, state building, and capacity development in Africa. Senior tax administrators and policymakers from 39 African countries agreed to work towards the, I quote, establishment of the forum as a platform for sharing best practices in taxation matters in the region. It is remarkable that the forum has, through the years, been unwavering in its founding mission and ideals. But it is worth noting also that the tax problems of African states have remained much the same in complexity and character since. The elephant in the room in most discussions on tax in developing countries remains the problem of domestic resource mobilization, addressing the so-called tax gap, the difference between what we collect and what we could collect. The constraints are similar, though in varying degrees in several countries across the continent. They include a large informal sector, including large subsistence agricultural sectors, tax evasion, tax avoidance, tax exemptions, and inequitable and opaque rent-sharing arrangements, especially in the extractive sector. Significantly also, the use of aggressive and often suspicious tax planning and transfer mispricing. By the use of this, multinationals minimize their tax payments, or put more graphically, simply dodge taxes. The Thabo Mbeki report on illicit financial flows discloses shocking details of tax losses to African economies by these practices of multinationals and most often their local collaborators. Paradoxically, the report shows that these practices lead to an estimated revenue loss for developing countries that is 3 times greater than the amount they receive in foreign aid each year. However, the trend of international debate on global tax issues appears to be favorable to African economies, and most African tax administrators, I'm sure, are following these developments very closely. There are 2 main agendas. The first is increasing transparency and information exchange, and the second is base erosion and profit shifting. The former involves establishing automatic information exchange as the new global standard for cooperation in tax matters, and ending the legal secrecy of ownership of companies and trusts, especially those based in tax havens. On base erosion and profit shifting, which has also done significant damage to domestic resource mobilization in Africa, a range of potential actions are planned by OECD countries. These include checking transfer mispricing, country-by-country reporting by transnational companies, international tax law, standards for international tax treaties, limits on tax planning activities, and the tax treatment of the digital economy. Now, these agendas have been endorsed by G8 and G20 countries, thus giving them high-level support and momentum. Although the immediate outcomes will benefit the OECD, EU, and some BRICS countries more, African tax administrators must see the great opportunities in these initiatives and take advantage in developing tax policies and regulations. As an example of taking these sorts of initiatives, and this has been mentioned by both the Honorable Minister and the Chairman of IFRS, we recently in Nigeria launched a voluntary assets and income declaration scheme, VADES for short, backed by an executive order, to provide an opportunity for taxpayers who are in default under all relevant statutes to within 90 days voluntarily declare their assets and income and pay taxes on them while being forgiven payment of interest and penalties. Although the scheme targets local tax evasion, we're also interested in the large number of Nigerians who own property abroad and who have not been paying taxes on incomes from these assets. The British government's initiative on transparency in beneficial ownership of properties, we expect, will greatly assist this drive. I think it's important to emphasize that almost across Africa, tax administrators are actively engaged in extensive reforms and battling resource difficulties that hamper these reforms. The issues of collection of tax and the appropriate technologies that could bring down these costs, developing relevant skills and management needed to effectively create and run efficient and transparent tax administrations, issues around institutional structure, the wisdom of ensuring autonomy of institutions of tax administration have stretched the creativity and resourcefulness of tax administrators across the continent. Enforcement is, of course, another major issue that practically all tax authorities, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, have to deal with. Again, the surveys show increasing innovation and creativity by administrators in Africa in this regard. Permit me to say, though, that perhaps the equivalent of the invention of electricity for tax administration in Africa is inventing the solution to effectively collecting taxes from our huge informal economies. The easy argument is to suggest that we should wait until economic growth and development brings these informal systems into the formal system. But this is unhelpful. It has kept us on the same spot for decades. It seems to me that we must find a way of fixing this car while the engine is running. I would urge that this conference consider some solutions to this problem, along with the so many huge issues that will occupy your attention in the next few days. Let me again commend the forum for this most relevant knowledge exchange opportunity, and our local hosts, the FIRS, who have proved to be one of the most innovative and forward-looking tax administrations in Africa. On behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari and the government and people of Nigeria, I welcome you all most heartily to this exciting conference, and I hope that you will all have very useful deliberations indeed. And so it is my very special privilege to declare this third conference open.
We appreciate His Excellency, and I'm happy you are making it a standing ovation with appreciation. Can we put our hands together one more time for the Vice President? Very quickly, before we close this session, which is a formal opening ceremony, and then we'll get into the high-level discussion, we would like to let His Excellency the VP Group. So we'll have the group photograph very quickly. I'd like to invite all the Commissioners General from the different countries to step forward with the people who are sitting in front here to please join His Excellency the Vice President right in front here for the group photograph. All the Commissioners General, please. Just the Commissioners General. Okay, we would like to and then for those that are still seated, your program, if you look at page 12, you have the information on the ATAF app. The ATAF app, information on it is on page 12 of the program that you're holding. Let me also say that this event can be streamed live. We have the ATAF 123 as the code, and then you can use any network apart from the Hilton Honors. We'd like to welcome all of the Commissioners General here from over 38 countries that are members of ATAF. I'm sure the photographers are happy. Are we okay now? As they step down now, we shall be taking the national anthem. So we'll allow His Excellency the Vice President to get back to his seat before we take the national anthem. Okay, so Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem, please. Shall we all rise? Thank you very much. Just a few minutes break for His Excellency the Vice President to leave, and then we will commence a high-level panel discussion on boosting revenues in Africa amidst sluggish economic growth, macroeconomic growth, and Agenda 2063 by the AAU. We have our panelists who are high-powered on the continent on matters of tax. Just a few minutes, we'll all come back here to commence the high-level panel discussion.
S'il vous plaît.
To come together and unite our tax system in Africa. Also urge the conference to find solutions to tax evasion and avoidance and create a more conducive environment for multinational companies to come invest in their continent, Africa. All right, so after this session, we'll have the conference will break into panels, and these panels would be X-raying issues and finding solutions to tax evasion, tax avoidance, and also chart way forward for Africa to move forward.
Bâtir des régimes de fiscalité intérieure solides en Afrique et renforcer la TVA, l'IRP et l'IRS.